Hey everyone, back to you into today's video. A very warm, sultry September day. I'm sure you've realised down across southern parts of the country temperatures well above average, and they could get up to around 25, maybe 26 degrees down in the south this afternoon. That's getting up to the upper 70s Fahrenheit. Really very warm indeed. Quite hot really for this late in the year. Now, it looks like we're going to be seeing things cooling down as we go through into the weekend. And there's a bit of a change coming along for next week. It's gradually going to be turning more unsettled from the northwest. How unsettled it gets in the south, though, still open to some doubt. Before we get on with today's video, we're going to be looking at the next 8 to 10 days really today. Just to talk about the ads. There's video ads on pages at gaswebbusiness.com. Hit play on video ad. You'll be able to support gaswebbusiness.com. Thanks very much for doing that. So we've got risk of thunderstorms being triggered by this heat and humidity over the next couple of days. There could be some storms coming up from the south and the southwest tonight. I think they'll be mainly restricted to the south and the southwest, but tomorrow they could get more widespread. This is the GFS precipitation forecast for at 6 o'clock in the evening on Friday, and we see that many parts of England and Wales at risk of some precipitation there. Now, this is sort of scatter downpours, so it certainly isn't going to be as widespread as that is suggesting, I don't think. But if you do catch a shower tomorrow or a storm, you're likely to know about it because it's going to be pretty heavy. There's quite a lot of convective potential tomorrow. We can see that we have got those green and yellow colours there across much of England and Wales in particular, so there will be the risk of lightning and thunder in with those downpours as well. It's going to be very warm and humid tomorrow, with temperatures possibly getting up to 26. At the outside, one or two places on the south coast could get up to 27 degrees, that's 81 Fahrenheit. Now, as we move through into Saturday, things do get more defined. And this is actually a weather front coming southwards and eastwards across the country on Saturday. That will eventually be introducing much cooler and fresher air from the north and the northwest. So what we'd like to be seeing on Saturday is, I think, more general showery type rain, as a band of rain really coming down across the country. There'll be less of a risk of thunder. Well, there could still be some thunder around on Saturday. There is the suggestion that there is still some convective potential here in the south-southeast, but it's less of a risk than on Friday. So I think the main thing about Saturday is going to be more of a band of rain coming down across the country, as opposed to those thunderstorms that could get going tonight and into tomorrow afternoon in particular. The temperatures will be sliding down over the weekend as well. Here's the maximum temperatures for Friday being indicated on Friday afternoon to be up to 24, 25, 26 degrees, around the mid to upper 70s Fahrenheit. At the outside of, say, one or two places could just about hit 8 Fahrenheit. Look how hot it is over on the continent, by the way. Very, very hot over much of France and Germany and into the Low Countries as well. As we move through into Saturday, heat just about clings on in the south, so we're still up to around 25, 26 degrees on the south coast, but notice it is getting cooler the further north and west you go, and that's behind that weather front that's coming down through the course of Saturday, so that by the time we get through to Sunday, it's definitively cooler then across all parts of the country. Still just about getting up to 19 or 20 on the south coast, but that's around 5 or 6 degrees lower than it will be on Saturday, and most places really just into the mid-teens through the course of Sunday afternoon, here somewhere between around 13 and say 17 degrees down towards mid. So quite a significant drop in temperature really taking place in the south of the country anyway, from Saturday into Sunday. Quite an interesting spell of weather coming up. But if those storms do get going tomorrow, I may update the Stormwatch page at some point tomorrow. So keep an eye on my Twitter feed and Facebook page to see whether I think it's worth updating the Stormwatch page tomorrow. I'm not quite sure how widespread these downpours and storms are going to be, so we're going to have to play it by ear and see what happens. Now, these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts from the ECMWF and the GFS. We've got the ECM here on the left. The GFS is over on the right. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere where we've got high pressure and low pressure developing and being moved around by the jet stream running above. These are the mean flow charts for the next 8 to 10 day time. So this is taking us more or less to the very end of September to around the 20 29th of September. These are from last night. We haven't had the update from this morning, unfortunately, but I think if we did have the update this morning, they would look very similar to what we had from last night's update. And what we're seeing here through next week is that the jet stream really is strengthening. We've got below average heights, low pressure setting up to the north of the country on both the GFS and the ECMWF. We've got this ridge of high pressure. This is the ridge that's had throughout September, sitting now, or in 8-10 days' time, forecast to be sitting to the south and to southwest of the country. So it's still pretty close to us, really, but the difference is that with the trough of low pressure developing to the north, we're strengthening the jet stream. That's been indicated by these running countries. So those tight lines are indicating an increase in the jet stream. It's turning more unsettled Atlantic-driven air, feeding in off the Atlantic, so it'll be turning cooler as well through the course of next week. But you get the idea that the ridge, the above average heights, is not that far away. It's still just to the south and the southwest. So quite, as I said at the start of the video, quite how unsettled it turns down in the south is open to some doubt. It will depend whether this low pressure can spread the unsettled conditions right the way across the country. Whether that ridge just about keeps the south mostly dry. We're going to have to wait and see on the exact detail on that one. But we are in for a change next week. This is a change on what we've had throughout most of September, with this increase in the jet stream pushing Atlantic air in off the Atlantic. So we can see this on the GFS ensembles. These are the temperature and rainfall ensembles. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. Obviously, we're well above average at the moment. Stay that way into the weekend, but as we get through to the end of the weekend, so next week, we dip down back towards the red line, so we go down toward the 30-year average. And then really, well, there's not a scatter there, isn't there, through the rest of the ensemble. Unusual amount of scatter, really, early on in the ensemble, you have to say. Some of the members of the ensemble are still quite warm, some go quite cool, and within that I think we're probably looking maybe a little bit of a zonal cine wave beginning to get going. What the zonal cine wave is, and you'll hear more about this through the autumn and winter, is that when we get a warm sector coming through from the Atlantic, then we find the ensembles picking up. When we get a cold front coming through and a cold sector behind an area of low pressure, we find the ensembles dipping down, and that's how you go on through the ensemble, really going up and down in a sort of cine wave fashion. We may be just seeing the 13th of that on this ensemble amongst all of this scatter. There are some rainfall spikes coming through as well. These are associated with the risk of thunderstorms over the next day or two, and these precipitation spikes from around the 25th onwards associated with that Atlantic driven weather. Now this is the ensemble for London. Not too many spikes coming through down in the south and southeast. If you have a look at the ensemble for Manchester, you see that there are more rainfall spikes coming through then through the course of next week. So that's sort of indicative that the north and west is probably going to be more unsettled next week than the south and the southeast. The temperature anomaly for the coming week, the 18th to the 26th of September, shows going to be above average. Still, it's going to be warmer than average week. That's been the case throughout September. Have a look at the rainfall anomaly. We're coming out still just about dry than average, but this anomaly is lessening, just indicating that again we've started to bring more unsettled conditions through next week. So the generic charts, here's the GFS for Thursday, a week away. We've got this deep area of low pressure around Iceland. There's the ridge down to the south and southwest, and we're bringing this strong westerly through across the country. That could be spreading heavy rain into the north and west, that area of low pressure. And the GFS then gets more unsettled really as we go through to the end of next week. This is Friday the 22nd, and that low pressure is swinging in to Scotland, taking probably a band of heavy rain even down into the south and southeast of the country at the end of next week. If you follow the isobars back, they're originating from a much more northerly source in the Atlantic, so that will be a good deal cooler as well than we've been used to. So a strong wind, outbreaks of rain gradually spreading southwards and eastwards through the course of next week is the latest idea from the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. And we get through to day 10, so the 28th of September. We've still got this area of low pressure to the north and northwest, and we're probably bringing another weather system through, taking another band of rain through on Sunday the 28th. The high pressure's pulled quite a long way out into the Atlantic on this particular run of the GFS, but the GFS is sort of changing from run to run with this. Other operational runs of the GFS has this area of high pressure closer to the south and the southeast. This is a particularly unsettled version. The ECMWF has this idea that the high pressure is closer to the south and southeast. So here we are on Thursday the 25th, day 8, a week away, and the ridge is still into the south, really, 1020 millibars. It's much more unsettled up to the north, and we're all into this westerly flow, so we're bringing Atlantic air in off the Atlantic Ocean. It will be cooler, but it's more settled down to the south, more unsettled up to the north. And the ECMWF keeps this idea going. We probably do bring a band of rain down across the country as we get through in towards the last stage of next week. This is Friday the 26th, bringing a band of rain down, but I don't think that would amount to too much down in the south. Pressure is still relatively high in the south, and we aimed up on day 10, so 28th. That high pressure still ridging very closely to the south of the country, so throughout next week I think the south is kept more sort of protected than the north, where it could be a good deal more unsettled. But there is more mobility in this. Whether it ever really gets all that unsettled down in the south or southeast, we're certainly seeing signs of more mobility in the weather through next week. We're increasing the jet stream. We're going to increase the winds. It will turn more unsettled up in the north. Whether that gets down into the south and the southeast, we're going to have to wait and see on the exact detail of that. I'll know more for the weekend broadcast on Saturday. But certainly some sort of a change is taking place next week after several weeks, you have to say, of very, very quiet and benign sort of late summer weather. So if you enjoy the heat, do enjoy it over the next couple of days. It's probably going to be the last time it gets this warm until next year. And then next week we're looking at more mobility coming in off the Atlantic, with the northwest in particular turning a little bit more unsettled. It's JMA Friday tomorrow, so I'll have a look at the month ahead, taking us well into October, so come back for that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.